Please take your seats. The show is about to begin. Please take your seats. The show is about to begin. Returning to the stage, please give it up for Sarah Fisher.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us throughout the afternoon. The origin story of Dude Perfect is one that is unforgettable in the media industry. In 2009, 5 college friends started posting to their YouTube channel. Anyone want to guess how many subscribers are on their YouTube channel today? Raise your hand if you think it's more than 30 million. Okay, it's 60 million. They are the #1 sports brand on YouTube. 10 years later, what they do is a lot of things like trick shots, different types of Guinness records, all the cool fun things, but the young people love it, and they're going to talk to you about it today. So before we bring up their new CEO, Andrew Yaffe, and their co-founder, Kobe Cotton, I want to show you a quick video, and just in case you don't know the brand. Roll the tape.
This is the world's highest basketball shot. Come
Andrew, Kobe, please join us on stage. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. All right, so let's start with news of the day. Andrew, the last time you and I saw each other in person, you had a very different job.
Yes.
You were just named the CEO of Dude Perfect. Congratulations.
Thank
Congrats to Andrew. You were at the NBA for most of your career. Wonder why you made that jump.
Yeah, I started the NBA in 2010 and left 3 weeks ago. So it's been quite a journey. There aren't a lot of opportunities I would have left the NBA for, but Dude Perfect is a pretty unique platform. I would say the first thing is the guys. The dudes, excuse me. The people. I wouldn't have joined somewhere that wasn't really authentic and really meaningful and really mission-based in what we were trying to do and values-based in what we were trying to do. And I think the alignment from the first time we connected to throughout the process was amazing. And the opportunity we have in front of us is incredibly unique. The scope, the ambition, the size of the opportunity is really significant and something I'm really excited to get started on building.
Kobe, the dudes have a really incredible business, so you clearly know what you're doing. Why did you want to bring on Andrew?
Well, first, just want to address, it brings up PTSD watching that shot in Vegas. It's hard for me. That was a long 3 days for anybody who's seen how long that took. We have needed, honestly, a CEO for a while now. The 5 of us have been doing this for 15 years, and we're incredibly proud of the team that we've built and what we've accomplished over that time, but we have had a lot of dreams, and I would say that the 5 of us feel like we have been a bottleneck for that at times. And we knew that we needed to build the right team to go tackle some of the biggest things that we've really been dreaming about. And we knew that was going to need to be spearheaded by the right CEO. So cannot even begin to describe how excited we are to have Andrew in the building.
So you guys are a privately owned business, obviously. You just raised a lot of capital. It was reported over $100 million. Andrew, why did you guys need to raise so much growth capital when clearly this is a very profitable, growing business as it is?
Yeah, we raised around about 6 months ago from High Mount Capital, and I think we are quite profitable. But I think this really unlocks a lot of opportunities for us to take risks and make big bets on all the ideas that Kobe was referencing. I think there are a lot of big opportunities that sometimes creators shy away from because they don't have the capital or they don't want to take the risk on a new area that might not have been successful previously. That's not something we don't have to worry about. And we are able to try new things and see what works and see what resonates with our audience. I'd say you don't have 15 years of success on YouTube by accident. These guys have an amazing connection to their audience and to the types of people who consume our content. There's no reason that shouldn't apply in other areas like gaming and toys and live experiences. And so now that we have the security, we can go take risks in all those areas and build something really truly big and long lasting.
I want to get to some of the things that you're building, but let's go back to that raise. When you took on that money, how big was the business? Are you guys like a unicorn? I'm trying to help size out how big Dude Perfect is for the folks who might not work with creator economies day in and day out.
Yeah, we don't comment on our financials specifically, but we are doing quite well and growing quite quickly and are quite profitable. So the opportunities in front of us are quite significant, and I don't think I would have left the NBA if that wasn't true.
And then Kobe, so $100 million plus. Andrew listed some of the things that you guys want to invest in, but the thing that made big headlines, and I think it's the thing you're passionate about, is you all have teased building a theme park.
We have.
What would that even look like, transitioning, a very social media heavy brand that does products and things like that into a truly in-person experience?
It's been fun for us, as I mentioned, doing it for 15 years. Primarily, people's interaction with Dude Perfect has been on video, right? That's been what we've been known for. We started with trick shots, and we've expanded into all these different areas. It's been a blast. We put our toe in the water on doing something live about 5 years ago when we first started doing our live tours. And that was the first time for us that we saw, we see the comments online for 10 years, but then when we saw families reacting in person to what we were doing in these NBA arenas, we immediately started thinking, okay, we want to find a way to transition to not just have online content where people are watching it, but a way for families to enjoy this together. And so we have explored a lot of different avenues in terms of a live experience that people can enjoy, and the theme park is one that we've talked quite a bit about. It's been really fun having Andrew and others on the team helping us explore what those different opportunities could look like, but it's something we're still really passionate about.
And I don't want to sell short the live tour that we're doing already, and we have a live tour coming up next summer. These guys have sold out 50 plus NBA-sized arenas. The screaming fans, the families that pack these buildings are, I've worked with plenty of top talent over the last 15 years. Like, the admiration and love for the dudes is unmatched. And I've walked through airports with NBA players, and I've walked through airports with these guys, and the number of people asking for pictures and videos is amazing. And it's just really exciting to continue to build on those lives.
Vertically, we stand out in different ways, I think, in those airports.
Yeah.
So, okay, I heard you say the word family twice. You said the word family twice. Why are you so obsessed with being a family-focused brand?
I think the reality for us, and I'll speak for the 5 of us who started Dude Perfect, we made the content the way we did just because of who we are. It lined up with what we believed, what we wanted to show, and times the stuff that we wanted to make. And we quickly found ourselves appealing to a certain, base. And there was families that were just resonating with what we were doing. And that was honestly, wasn't our intention from the beginning. But we've doubled down on that. And we've decided, look, we want to be the most trusted name in entertainment. Like, we want families to be able to really put their stake on whatever Dude Perfect is putting in front of them. And so that's been so much fun for us to lean in and continue to provide the best that we can for those families.
I mean, it's fascinating to hear you say that, because at the same time, I was in Bristol, Connecticut a few weeks ago with ESPN.
Yeah.
And they've always prided themselves as being the family-focused sports brand, but now they're in sports betting and they're bringing on Pat McAfee and all those things. So do you think there's a market for being family-friendly? Because clearly they think that they have to move a little bit outside of the purity.
I would say, coming from a sports league, every sports league, every streamer, every platform wants to know, where is the next generation of fan going to consume sports content? And they are desperate to find 8, 10, 12, 16-year-old boys and girls to watch their live sports and their sports content. And that's a real problem for a lot of platforms and a lot of leagues and properties, because kids are not watching live sports in the same way that they were when I was a kid, when you were a kid. What they're watching is Dude Perfect. And we're what's engaging a lot of those fans in a very different way. So we think that there's a huge opportunity for both of those things, and probably some ways for those things to live together.
I think a good example of that is Amazon Prime Video bringing Dude Perfect in to do the NFL show. You guys have won 2 Emmys. Congratulations.
Thanks.
What is that experience like versus the content that you're doing on YouTube? Do you think you're going to continue to do these big streaming type of deals? Or do you think the focus really is more merchandise, live tours, theme parks?
Yeah. For those who haven't had a chance to see, 2 years ago, we started doing alternate broadcasts for Thursday Night Football, kind of the way that Peyton and Eli do for ESPN. And it was a blast. You asked, what did we think of it? It was so much fun. We quickly realized that it's pretty exhausting. We don't give enough credit to the broadcasters out there. 4 or 5 hours, it's a long time to stay focused on what you're doing. But the goal of it was to bring families together. If a family was not going to be able to gather the entire family around a football game, if the kids were not going to be interested in that, we wanted to create something that allowed the parents to watch the game while the kids were engaged in what we were doing. And it was a ton of fun, and we hope to be able to do more of it.
Let's talk about some of the other big investments that you're doing. You mentioned games. Walk me through the vision for all things retail. So whether it's games or merchandise that you're selling, do you plan to open a retail store? What's the idea there?
Yeah, we've experimented in the space for a number of years. Last year we had our board game was a #1 toy in Walmart last year through the holiday period. We're launching a new toy, a category of toys with Walmart on Black Friday this year. So we think that's a really big area for expansion and investment for us. It's just a really meaningful category that resonates with our audience. And gaming is another one. As I've talked to many people in the video game space, which I think in many communities, people don't realize how big video games as a business are. the idea of being able to bring a gigantic audience of 8 to 16-year-old boys and girls who love sports and love competition and love fun to the gaming audience is really meaningful and really valuable. And that's something that we have a DP gaming channel that we're doubling down on now, and is an area that I think we can continue to expand on, either as content or potentially in our own games. We had, you can speak to it, we had an iPhone game a number of years ago with more than 50 million downloads. So there are a lot of indicators that it's a category we can be incredibly successful in.
Let's zoom out for a second. Obviously, you, Kobe, have had incredible success as an internet creator. And I think that is the number one profession that young people say they want to be when they grow up. But the hit rate, the success rate is really low.
Yeah.
So what do you think have been the reason for your breakout success? Has it been that you were in the right place, the right time, the right platform? Is it this focus on family-friendly content? What is it?
I think both of those are a big piece of it for sure. I think we have always said that our kind of the core decision we were making every time we were making content was, is this something that I would want to watch myself? If somebody else made this, would I enjoy watching it? And so, we tried not to follow the data and chase all the other things that people were doing. We just wanted to make things we were excited about. And fortunately, that's continued to resonate. We started when we were juniors in college at Texas A&M. Certainly had no intentions of it becoming a business that we would be hiring a CEO for 15 years later, but it's been an unbelievably fun experience, and I do think, grateful to say I think our gut has been correct on a lot of those content decisions.
And how have you 5 friends been able to maintain a professional friendship without?
That's why I'm here.
That's the really good question. I was just telling somebody this the other day. I think probably one of the smartest things we've done is on Monday mornings, we call it Owner's Box for the 5 owners, and the 5 of us, the 5 dudes, sit in a room, just the 5 of us. And it started being a lot more like tackle the business issues, and it's turned into more just make sure the friendships are okay. And I think the reality is that's hard for people to do. It's especially hard in my experience for guys to do, and to admit that you're wrong and say, I'm sorry. And there's times we just need to clean the slate. And I think that protecting those friendships over these 15 years has been very beneficial for the company too.
And I think the number one thing, just tying the last 2 questions together, is these guys are the exact same people in front of the camera as they are behind the camera. I think the authenticity of the content and the authenticity of our brand is incredibly necessary for creators to be successful. And it's not something that everyone can do. And they've been amazingly consistent and focused on that. And it's been, I think, I've seen the rewards because of it.
But to push back on the dynamic, I think there's also this perspective that, you got 5 dudes and you're trying to be a family-friendly brand, and the world's population is 50% women. So how are you reaching out to audiences that aren't dudes, audiences that are people of color, audiences that might not have grown up with dynamics that mirror what you guys had at Texas A&M?
It's been really fun. We've had different athletes and others featured in our videos across the years. One of our favorites was Serena Williams. Unbelievable. If you've never seen that video, it's just a lot of fun. You should go check it out. So it's been fun for us to collaborate and work with other people. It was an interesting one for us because obviously, authentically, it was 5 guys that started it. So we never wanted to veer from that piece of it, but we have a lot of plans when it comes to additional content to lean into that. Yeah. Even our variety show, Overtime, which is what our entire tour was based on, is a lot more kind of personality based, and that has leaned a lot more female in the audience. So something we've certainly been intentional about and are excited to continue in that direction.
And we have some women's sports concepts on the drawing board that we're nothing to announce just yet, but that we're pretty excited about, and I think will be a big opportunity for us to dive into that space. I spent a lot of time on the WNBA in my years at the NBA, a lot of time on the junior WNBA, and so I think the youth and women's sports spaces are ones we're really excited about.
One of the challenges I've seen with internet brands that I've covered over the years, Barstool's a really good example of this, is you create content targeting a particular demographic. Let's say it's people under the age of 34, which I think is the majority of your audience, but then they age. So what is your plan to make sure that you retain them without becoming your mom and dad's trick shot content and then their kids thinking that you're antiquated?
No, it's a great question. It's been fun for us to see kind of the generation change. It also makes us feel old that we've been doing this for 15 years. But what we've noticed again, grateful to say it, but like people started watching when they were my age, whether they were in junior high, high school, college, when we started making the videos. We joke that at some point they probably left and they went to Barstool, which is totally fine. But then they had kids themselves and they've come back to Dude Perfect. And so people are telling us this, that it's so fun for them because they were and have been watching Dude Perfect for a long time, and it's really fun to relive that with their kids. So that's a story that we love hearing, and our goal is just to continue to make the best content that we can. And good news is there's always new kids.
There's always.
I have a 1-year-old at home,
Yeah.
and
It's 14 kids across the
we
five?
do, yeah. Across the 5 of us, there's 14 going on 15 kids. So
Oh my gosh, we gotta do Dude Perfect 2.0.
we have joked about just pick your one favorite, most charismatic kid, and that's who you'll hand it off to.
That is quite the inheritance, having just raised $100 million. Andrew, when you were at the NBA, obviously Adam Silver and that league are so focused on social media and making sure that they are omnipresent across all platforms. What was your take on how the social landscape has just evolved generally? Are you thinking or worried about TikTok? Do you still think YouTube is the best channel to be distributing? Where are you going to put your eggs?
I'm going to maintain what I did at the NBA, which I think we're going to continue to invest across channels. But I think we need to be very specific about what types of content and what the purpose is on each and every channel. You know, YouTube, at its core, in some ways has become a premium service. The average video on YouTube our average video on YouTube is now 30 minutes long. The 60% of our YouTube content is consumed on living room televisions. It has been a massive shift from desktop to mobile to now TV. And that's a huge opportunity for our business to be developing premium content on that platform. And our average video takes weeks to produce. We have 80,000 square foot headquarters that we'll be talking a little bit more about later this fall. That is a world-class production studio in Frisco, Texas. In Dallas, come stop by if you're there. We love to host.
Don't come in August.
Yeah, it's a little hot. I started in September for a reason. We actually had 100 YouTube employees do an offsite at our semi-functioning pre-built office last week, and they had the time of their lives going through all of our activities on site. So we're happy to host if anyone's there. But I think across TikTok, across Instagram, even YouTube Shorts, we want to build the right content plan for each of those platforms that makes sense for each of those audiences, because they are somewhat different both in what they want and how the content performs.
So at Axios, we like to end all of our newsletters with one fun thing. Ooh. And this is actually a fun one for me because I don't understand what this question means. It was filtered to me through Dan Primack from his 11-year-old daughter.
Uh-oh.
And she asks, what did the pickle cotton candy taste like in overtime? Do you throw it out as soon as you get the chance to?
So we've tried these different foods that get sent to us, and we do this show called Cool Not Cool, where you present something kind of like a glorified show and tell people vote whether it was cool or not cool. The pickle cotton candy tastes remarkably like pickle juice, which I do not like, so I found that disgusting. But if you love pickles, you would love that cotton candy.
This is the type of thing that our 11-year-olds are hooked on these days, guys. Thank you so much to Andrew Yaffe and to Kobe for joining us today from Dude Perfect. Just before we leave, a few big points. You all have been at this for 15 years, but just raised capital. So to do that for 15 years independently is impressive and profitably. To Andrew's point, congratulations. Andrew said he came over because because the dudes were authentic, and that was the thing that really attracted you to them. You have sold out 50 NBA arenas. When I asked why you're so focused on being family friendly, you said it really is about trust. Everyone's looking to reach the next generation, and if you reach families, you've got them hooked in. We don't know what the next generation of Dude Perfect looks like, but Kobe teased that they are going to each pick one child to inherit their spots on Dude Perfect. That's a joke, if any reporters are in the room. Video games, a huge audience opportunity for you guys, and we look forward to seeing what you're going to be doing there. Women's sports is a huge opportunity for you. If you haven't seen it, go check out their collaboration with Serena Williams. And I think just overall thinking about your platform and your content, I think a lot of people think about Dude Perfect as being a social media brand. But Andrew, you were saying 60% of your YouTube content is viewed in living rooms. The average YouTube video that you upload is 30 minutes long, takes weeks to produce. Feels a little bit more like premium to me. Everyone, please give a round of applause to Andrew and Kobe. Thank you, guys. All right, and don't go anywhere because we have one final conversation. We have Peloton's Robin Arzón here to show Dan Primack what he's doing wrong on the Peloton. And then afterwards, please continue to stay with us for cocktails. Thank you so much.
Here he is again, Axios business editor Dan Primack.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. We have one final session for you today, and I am super excited about it. This is someone a lot of you might know of, who might be in your living room, or maybe you've experienced it over at Hudson Yards at the actual Peloton studios. Please welcome Peloton's VP of Fitness Programming and head instructor, and also the founder of Swagger Society, Robin Arzón.
Hello. Hi, everyone. So now is the burpee segment of our presentation. We're going to, no, I'm just, you're like, I'm one wine deep. Please no.
They are. Drinks are being served this moment. So this is interesting for me. I don't think I have ever interviewed anyone who I have cursed at so much in the privacy of my home. So this is kind of an honor for me. Let me ask, I guess, unlike almost all other fitness instructors, you begin your career as a corporate litigator. Can you briefly walk us through, how do you decide to put down the pencil and pick up the sneakers?
Well, it was an iterative process, as most things are. I fell in love with ultramarathons and marathons, and I really laced up truly to run through trauma, a traumatic incident that happened to me when I was a senior at NYU. And so a few years into law school and practicing law, I discovered that I had an inverse relationship with time, and that I was living for the 15 or 20 minutes when I can jog around Central Park, which was near my Midtown law office. And that's when I decided I need to figure out how to leverage my passion for movement in a way that pays my New York City bills.
Do you remember the moment where you went to your boss or managing partner, whoever at the law firm, and said you're quitting? Were you scared walking into the room?
I wasn't scared walking into that room, and yes, I distinctly remember that conversation because it was about 3 weeks before the London Olympic Games in 2012, and I had an opportunity to crash on my friend's couch and report, and the reporters in the room were like, report? It was a blog on Tumblr, so I say that very loosely in air quotes, report from the games, but that really lit a fire under me to figure it out, and so that required me to take further risks to then pay my bills. So I'm really grateful that I just pulled the trigger, because I could have just felt the malaise a little bit longer, and that really forced me into a passion project.
Do you get, given that your story is fairly well known among people who know you, do you get asked a lot by people, whether they be lawyers, whether they be private equity people, whether folks in the corporate world who are interested in making a change, what generic advice do you give them if they've kind of got that itch?
Well, I infused into Welcome Hustler, the empowerment journal that I released, that a 4-part kind of life audit that I in fact used when I was at that inflection point. And it really is taking stock, financially, of how much runway do you have, your physical health, and I think that the last 2 buckets really center on perhaps more spiritual or esoteric or kind of big thinking. I call it building a dreamscape. And for me, it was literally vision boarding and journaling at the time. And in those buckets, I kind of tried to really do an analysis of where I was at and what I needed to work on. But I think that when we're on when we're at those inflection points, taking stock of our physical health and our financial health are two of the most important things that we're going to do.
There's a lot of things you could have done. But you decide you want to call up somebody who's launched a relatively young startup still, that God knows it was work. His last thing hadn't worked out. It was a very high profile. Why did you decide to call Peloton or call John Foley Peloton and say you were interested in working there?
I sent a cold email to the company, and that that was in part the vision board I just mentioned. So in the business quadrant, I had, disruptive storytelling, and I actually didn't know what that meant. I just kind of liked the way the words looked on this vision board. And I'm really glad that I did that, because when I read about the company,
do you remember how you found out about them?
yes, it was like a 500-word blurb in Fast Company. And I thought, oh, this is really interesting. They're based in New York. They're not too far from where I'm teaching to 3 people. It was literally like a tiny little spin studio near Union Square. And I remember there was one night I was teaching the 8:30 p.m. class, and one person showed up. And I was like, there's got to be a better way, honey. There's got to be a better way. And then I read this article, and I thought, okay, this is scale. This is potentially disruptive. And I auditioned like on a Monday, and I had a contract that same week.
I'm curious. You had been in a corporate law firm, but this was different. This was startup land. Did you feel when you got there that you had a voice? Obviously, you have a literal voice because you're the one doing the rides. But did you feel you had a voice within the company when you got there? You were new to it, obviously.
I did, yeah. I mean, I think it was collaborative and scrappy, and in many ways, those values still exist.
What would you say if you look was there a piece of feedback you felt you gave in the early days that was particularly important to the company that people maybe today who are Peloton users would be able to almost recognize as something you contributed?
I mean, I think that the way we Pelotonize things, bringing substantive training.
That's a verb, huh?
Pelotonize.
That's
yep.
a verb. What does that mean?
I'm going to explain it. It's how we marry substantive fitness experiences with entertainment. And that has been really exciting to watch. Of course, we started with as a bike company, and we're more than a bike now with 16 modalities. And I'm really, really proud of that. So whether there's kind of a through line, whether you're on the tread, whether you're on the row, whether you're taking one of our meditations, there's a way that it's visceral, it's immersive, it's entertaining. And but it's still substantive, right? So it's not flashy for flashy's sake. Like I really believe that on a global scale, not only are we the best connected fitness company, but I think that we're providing people experiences that root them in being healthier humans.
Thinking of that class where only one person showed up, with Peloton, when's the first time that you think you realized, hey, this is actually working?
I will say, when we got to Hudson Yards, that production facility, it feels much more like you're at a television network. And that felt really great because our ambition was to kind of produce really high quality content. And I think at that point, okay, we have the pieces of the recipe to make something even greater than we imagined.
Right before you moved in, that's the studio that the company moved into right before COVID hit, correct?
Yes.
So you didn't actually open it for quite some time. Can you just explain to somebody, what is it like setting up a Peloton studio in your own home and then riding to, I assume, looking at your wall?
Well, I think that my husband is the better person to ask because he immediately became my camera person, my production assistant. Like, it was really intense. So I have deep, deep respect for the members of my team who do the more technical side of things.
One connection between kind of your old career and your current career is you talk a lot about helping people become what you call, the term is corporate athlete. What does that term mean to you?
I think it's the way that we can bring an athletic mindset to business and how we bring a business mindset to athletics. I think that some of the greatest leaders in the world that we respect are athletes. And I think that endurance mindset, that tenacity, that grit that we have, whether you're in a 20-minute Tabata ride or whether you are literally in the NBA, NFL, I think that there's a lot of overlap there. And the corporate athletic ethos, I guess, is something that I'm seeing a lot, more and more. And I like to get the folks who find that interesting are normally the folks I want to surround myself with in business and athletics.
Do you either do or have you considered kind of doing for you personally, kind of one-on-one exec training? I don't mean physical training, but almost kind of like a more fitness-focused Tony Robbins, essentially.
Well, I mean, that is the spirit behind Swagger Society. It's a lifestyle membership club with that. It's growth. It's about being surrounded by growth mindset oriented hustlers. We say it's a golden Rolodex of hustlers. And the brands that we associate with, the events that we put on, the app that we created, and ultimately the media company that we're creating under that umbrella, with different verticals such as podcast, unscripted TV, things like that. That's it. That's the heartbeat.
What do you think from being at Peloton in the early days, what do you think is an important lesson you learned in the early days, for better or for worse, that you've applied to Swagger Society and launching it and forming it?
I kind of keep them separate. Like Peloton's its own thing, and the business ventures that I do outside of it are outside of it. But the through line for everything is I want to light fires under people's asses. Like I want to wake them up. So the brands that I associate with, the platforms that I create, the products that I put out in the world, the way I show up to this, it's unapologetically.
How do you feel? There's so much talk, and it has been for years, it's not new, about having it all and about balance. And how do you, for somebody who has a 12-hour workday and has kids at home, and then how do you find time to get on, whether the bike or the treadmill or whatever, kind of what's your message to people? Do you feel that the have it all kind of conversation was the wrong conversation or the right conversation? Does that make sense?
I do understand what you're saying. Broadly speaking, I think balance is bullshit. And here's why. I think that it's the wrong conversation, I guess, because I prefer that we're talking about being in alignment. I prefer talking about describing what a yes looks like, what boundaries look like, empowering a no so you get to the right yes. These are things that I find more interesting. And yes, you are getting to a semblance of balance, right? I don't mean like redlining, and overworking is a good thing. I think that spending your time with your kids is admirable, right? So there are ways in which I feel misaligned or in alignment. And I guess that is the better conversation, especially when you consider that when one is asked about balance, it is usually a caregiver, it is usually a woman, and we need to be having more specific conversations on what you mean by that when asked. And so I think the better conversation for doers, for ambitious folks, for executives, for CEOs, for folks in this room is, do you feel in alignment, and is it a hell yes, or should it be a no thank you?
Do you right now feel in alignment?
Yes, because it was a hell yes.
You put a new forward to your book, Shut Up and Run, and you said your original mantra of Shut Up and Run had been replaced by, quote, "I'm not done yet." What does that mean?
Well, having had 2 babies and being in my 40s, I feel really energized by this new mantra of not being done yet. I think the conversations that we're having about aging and longevity are really exciting. And I think that we can redefine what the second half of our lives look like. And that I was really inspired actually over the summer by Richard Branson. I had the immense honor of co-hosting a trip to Necker Island, where he lives casually on an island that he owns. Not casual at all, but he is an incredibly inspiring human. He decided basically at 64, 10 years ago, to become an athlete. And in his 70s, he is crushing the bike and he strength trains and he does these things. And that is also a similar, I think, way to look at the world of like, I'm not done yet. And when in repairing my body postpartum, I thought, hell no, I'm just getting started. And I want to show my kids what it means to live an uncommon existence in the way that I want to tell that story in the world, so they can then find their own way of doing that in the world. So that's what that means to me.
You kind of buried the lead about the trip to Necker Island. And tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I believe you talked about this on a ride. You coming into this year did not know how to swim. And I don't mean know how to swim like you did not know how to swim.
I did
and then
not.
You went to Necker Island and swam 2 miles in the open ocean? Is that
I ran a one mile freestyle.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And my husband, I swam. Of course, I'm still thinking about running. I swam 1 mile freestyle, and my husband swam 3. So yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't know how to. Can I say?
No, I learned how to swim over the
Was
summer.
that not terrible? As someone
terrifying.
who taught a kid to swim, like, okay, it's a kid.
It was
Adults
terrifying.
know they can drown.
It was terrifying. Yeah, I mean, honestly, learning how to swim over the summer with the same coach, by the way, that my toddler has. So when I tell you it was like basic, I'm not like, oh, humble. It was basic. It was basic. But it was I love getting into that beginner's mindset. So although it was terrifying, it also was really liberating because we can learn how to do new things. We could be bad at something and try again and try again. And that's why I can show up at Peloton in spaces where maybe I'm unexpected, and I can demand and encourage folks to try new things.
When you are on the bike or the tread or doing a class, and actually a colleague asked me this question to ask you, when you talk about new things, how do you come up really with new things to say? Because the big message is usually the same. Do you catch yourself sometimes think, oh shit, I said that 2 weeks ago?
Sure, I probably did say it 2 weeks ago, but when you're in the middle of a sprint, you probably didn't hear it the first time. So I will tell you again. And they're the things that I honestly have journaled about likely that morning or the evening before that I've told myself in the workouts that I'm also doing, because that workout at Peloton is, yes, I'm participating in the workout, but it's not my workout. So I'm often thinking about the things that I needed to hear maybe just a few hours before or the day before. And it's a lived experience for me. We're shoulder to shoulder in that experience. And so I'm usually also speaking to the version of myself that also needed to hear that thing.
Peloton, obviously, and it's no secret to anybody who's followed the company. The company has obviously had a bunch of up and downs, particularly huge ups during the pandemic, huge downs afterwards. As somebody who is on camera and is also kind of a leader at the company, part of your job when you're doing this is to be positive because the people are riding at home or running at home. How difficult was it to be positive when the company itself was struggling and obviously some of your colleagues were facing challenges there?
I consider my colleagues who are also taking classes and I'm also in meetings with them. I'm holding space for hope and optimism. And that is also how I am as a leader, not only with the instructor team globally, but also cross-functionally with my teammates in all different areas of the organization. So honestly, it's whether it's at all hands or whether it's at a meeting with our product team, I am still holding space for that. And yes, the conversations might look differently than when it's on camera in front of millions of people.
But was it tough given that you knew what was happening behind, and it wasn't even secret, like what was happening behind the scenes was publicly and well known, it was on TV, it was in the newspapers, but then you kind of have to go out there and do what you have to do.
I mean, yes and no, because I've always believed, and I still believe, and I love what we do. And you could say I drank the Kool-Aid, but we're also changing millions of people's lives. And the reason why it's not tough in some ways is because I see the cascade of like a woman this week sent me a letter that she had taken my turkey burn ride of last year. And my turkey burn ride is a little bit of like a paper cut because we had some issues on the tech side that day. And then she sends me this letter that I just got last week. And she says, your turkey burn ride got me through chemo. And I took that turkey burn ride so many times during chemo. And she had just been in the studio, just starting to grow her hair back. And she's like now on the other side of this experience almost a year later. And I thought, that's why I did it. It was like for that moment, for that woman, and that woman is multiplied, different iterations of different stories, of different inflection points, of different wins. And that's why it's all worth it. All the chapters of the Peloton story are worth it for a million moments like that.
And as the company's grown and the number of people using it's grown, you still feel you're able to maintain that connection with some of the riders?
We do it every day. Every instructor has their way of doing it, and we have really, really powerful moments with our members. And that's why the core value of our company is members first.
Final question for you. I'll switch over and ask a final question, a Swagger Society question. Where in 5 years do you want Swagger Society to be? What do you want it to be?
I want us to be a platform that is lighting fires in people's lives, enabling and empowering tools for folks to level up. And I see it really as a media company and a licensing arm for that conversation.
Robin, thank you very much. Quickly for everybody, that is the end of our program. I have a couple quick things I am told I should say. Thank you, obviously, to the Axios events team. You did a wonderful job today. To the Altman for their hospitality. To CSL for being our great production partner. Our sponsors, Consensus, Lightspeed Venture Partners, Latham & Watkins. Two things quickly. Axios has another event in this room tomorrow about women's health. If you're interested in coming, it's in the afternoon. Please find an Axios person. They will get you signed up. And if you're going to be at Money 2020 in Vegas next week, we have an event Tuesday night. Same thing. Axios people. I think that's all I have to say. Oh, we have drinks and food. Go get drunk on us. Thank you so much.
Enjoy. Thank you so much. It was great to be here. Thank you so much.